Yes, you guys, and how are you all doing today? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to the match review of our 4-3 win against Reading. Now, in today's match review, I'm going to discuss the first half and the second half. I'll talk about things like players like Kennedy, Mason Mount, Pedro, etc, etc. I'm going to talk about some brief tactical observations, and of course, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on the game as well. However, before I get into anything, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. Download the OneFootball app right now to get all the stats from today's game, get all the latest during this preseason as well, and get all the news surrounding the team. If you guys want this, you will find it in the link in the description below. Now, getting straight into things, and as you guys can see beside me, this was the team for the first half, and 4-2-3-1. Pretty standard, pretty typical. I don't think we were expecting anything too different, and really it just supported all of the things I've been saying throughout this preseason. I've always felt as if the 4-2-3-1 has been much more of a circumstantial formation, purely based on the fact that a lot of the players playing in that team aren't going to be here. Guys like Bakker, Danny Drinkwater, the club are actively looking to sell them. Tomori is going to be going back out on loan. And when I see guys like Olivier Giroud, the fact that I don't see him playing alongside a Tammy or a Mitchie tells me that maybe Frank Lampard might not be considering him for the first team. So again, I think we get what we get. And of course, we have seen guys like Jorginho and Cover playing there, but recently Lampard has decided to go more for a diamond midfield, and it has its own merits. Now, of course, before this preseason ends, I'd like to see some personnel changes in the 4-1-2-1-2. Barkley and Mason Mount together. How could that look? Could be interesting. We can see how that happens. Of course, I'd like to see if Olivier Giroud could play up front alongside a Tammy Abraham. That could work as well. Alonso and Zappa, they are the B-tier fullbacks right now. Rumours that Conte wants to be reunited with Marcos Alonso. Let's pray that happens to you guys, honestly. So again, this really just makes it even more evident for me that this team and this formation may not be used too much, because if that was going to be the case, we would have seen guys like Jorginho and co playing 4-2-3-1 way more. But of course, at times they have played in that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We do have a few more preseason games, so there could be a lot more observations that we do make. However, I'll talk briefly about the team, and pretty standard in the sense that it wasn't anything that we haven't seen before. Can't lie, Danny and Bakker together. Danny's been decent this preseason, I'll give him that. Bakayoko, however, playing in a position and a formation where you feel should get the best out of him. Now, I can kind of understand why he's not playing with too much effort. Of course, if he is going to be sold, you can't afford to risk picking up any injuries. I'm sure that his agent and his camp are recommending that he doesn't overexert himself. I'm sure the club understand that as well, because they want to make money from him. So I'm not going to be too harsh with him. But again, you're thinking anyway, you'd like to see a bit more. Of course, the attacking players, and this is where it's more interesting for me. Guys like Pulisic and Kennedy were making infield runs. We did use inside forwards, and for me, I've always liked formations where inside forwards are used. This is better because, of course, Marcos Alonso has support from a winger when it comes to defending, which helps him. He's able to get forwards. Same thing for Zappa Costa. And of course, it seemed like Bakker had the license to get forward if he wanted to, depending on if the situation called for it. But yeah, I want to focus on Kenedy for a second now. Not only did he just hulk it into the bottom corner of the net, I thought that his performance was decent. Now, there's a lot of times where Kennedy's making the wrong pass, wrong run, doing the wrong thing in general, messing up the play. However, I'm slowly seeing him become more and more confident. I think playing in his best position, which is the right wings, is going to get the best out of him, and that's only going to help his confidence grow. And there were times where he was doing some nice first touches, some nice skill. The link up between him and Zappa was really good at times. This is the combination of moving in fields, dragging a man with him, freeing up space out wide for Zappa to obviously go through. You'd hope that he'd be better with his delivery, but his Zappa Costa, you can't be too mad. But I thought Kenedy, honestly, he has the potential to be a surprise this season. He really does. The way he the way he ended the first half was completely different to how he started the first half, and if we can see more of that, then Kenedy could be the biggest surprise this season. Now, there definitely is a player in Kenedy. There's no way the club would sign him if they didn't think he had it. Hopefully this season could be the season where he finally shows his fan base what he's really about. Moving on to Pulisic, I didn't think he was all that, to be honest. At times we've seen his explosive pace, good speed, but with the end product, it wasn't there. I'm not going to be too harsh. It's a new team, new setup. We'll need more time. He's very young, but it is what it is. And Ross Barkley again, Ross Barkley, if you give this guy space, and playing in this formation gives Barkley a ton of space, this is how you get the best out of him. Now, is getting the best out of Ross Barkley going to get us a top 4 finish? I don't think so, in my opinion. However, if his confidence is back, as Ross Barkley has shown this past few games, he has the ability in him. He can unleash something. His goal today with that free kick, it was on point. The second great goal he scored, and when you consider how a season is, when you consider how tough this season is going to be, it's really going to be important that our squad players are going to be on point. And if Ross Barkley is a squad player that can play with confidence, can provide something, can obviously challenge for a first team sport, and he can produce those moments of quality, then he could really be a useful part of this season. He's been very confident so far. Let's see it continue. And yeah, you guys, that's just my thoughts on how the first half went. The frustrating thing though with this game was moments of poor defending. Now, is there context for this? I know that the team were training this morning. Maybe they were feeling a bit tired. They weren't up for a physical battle. It's very weak reasoning. I know I'm sounding like Ty right now. Again, don't take it too seriously. It's not the first time that we have been done by set pieces. I think it's made me accept that we're a completely different Chelsea team right now. The core and identity we used to have with previous teams and previous players are different to what we have right now. We're much more about keeping the ball on the floor. We've got way more players suited to that style of play as well. So of course, naturally, they are going to have some physicality weaknesses. You're hoping though that as the season goes on, that is going to be worked on. Set pieces from Reading today were really catching us out every single time. I mean, near post, far post, constantly. And you're hoping that we'd cope a bit better. But that kind of continued in the second half as well. We had guys like Luiz and Zuma. Of course, two guys don't make up an entire team when it comes to defending set pieces. But the team's frailties, I feel though that the best way to not concede from set pieces is to not concede set pieces in the first place. Too often we're giving away silly fouls in those areas. That shouldn't be happening. We're clearly not a team that's capable of dealing with this type of stuff. So for me, preventing it should be the main priority. I'd hate that throughout the season. That was the one weakness that was constantly catching us out and ruining all our good work. Today, Reading dominated us in that area. 2 goals as well. 2 goals from set pieces. That Frank Lampard isn't going to be happy from that, and he's not going to be happy with that 3rd goal from Reading because again, the distances when it came to pressing wasn't there. Now moving on to the second half, and the second half brought back the return of the 4-1-2-1-2, the midfield diamond. At the tip was Pedro playing as the number 10, and this could be an interesting role for the player. Now for me, when it comes to Pedro, he doesn't have that same explosive pace. And it seems like maybe with him playing out wide, it may not be the best area for him. He is getting older. And as we tend to see, especially with attacking players, they normally end up moving more in field, playing more centrally. And maybe this could be how Pedro is used throughout the season. He does have a left foot and a right foot. It's an area where he can use his shooting ability to good effect. It's an area where, he can time his runs better. I know, not time his runs better, but he's able to make more runs without having to make long runs, if you know what I mean. In an area like this where the strikers are creating space, Pedro doesn't have to make some 50-yard run on the outside to get in the box. It's much shorter now. The distance is much shorter. So I think this could be a very effective evolution for Pedro. And it'll be interesting to see how he does. Now, credit to Frank Lampard. It was his idea to persuade Mason Mount to consider his future playing in midfield. Now, before you guys, if you weren't aware, Mason Mount was playing in the half spaces between the lines. He was like, you know, a wide attacking midfield player. However, since he's moved into midfield, he has bulked up. His body has suited the conditions and the environment to play in midfield. And this is where you see all of the great abilities of Mason Mount. We know that his timing of the run is fantastic. I mean, the 2 goals he got today really show that. He presses very hard. He works so goddamn hard. As I said, I feel tired watching the guy. He really works his socks off. And that second goal is testament to Mason Mount. And, you know, I'm always talking about the instincts of players. We need to respect them. Not every player has it in them. You know, they are different. There's a reason why there's levels to players and their abilities. And with Mason Mount, his ability to just have the right mentality, I mean, that makes a massive difference. No other player on that field was going to press the goalkeeper like Mason Mount did. And he pressed with intensity. He forced the error from the keeper. And of course, he profited from that because he was in the right position to bury it in the back of the net. Now, he created that and he forced that just by his application and his mentality. And honestly, things like this are important. I mean, you guys, let's cast our minds back to when we used to see guys like Drogba, Lampard, Ballack. A lot of times when we used to win games, we weren't winning beautifully, you know, playing amazing tiki-taka football. We weren't an awful team, but it wasn't on that type of level. A lot of times we won games and got the 3 points, mentality, grit, and all those things came into effect. They're the type of things that separate the winners from the pretenders, and they're the type of personalities that make a big team become what they are. And I see all of that in Mason Mount. For me, the guy really is the real deal. And under a manager like Frank Lampard that knows how to get the best out of a midfield, honestly, Mason Mount is lucky. The stars have really aligned for him, and he has the mentality and the ability to back it all up. I want to talk about the forwards very briefly as well. And you know what? I didn't really see too much of a partnership between Tammy and Mitchie. I thought that, you know, individually, they worked with the team. I thought their ability to time and one was going to drop deeper to link up with the number 10. And one move, you know, further forward. You know, they did that quite well. However, you know, do they have that instinct where, you know, if it's a better option to pass to the opposite striker, is Tammy or Mitchie going to do that? I'm not too sure. I'm really not. I thought that Tammy, again, looks a bit better than Mitchie today. I think that Tammy has a lot to his game. You know, he uses dribbling ability to good effects. He's comfortable dropping deeper. You know, his hold-up play is very good as well. His attributes and his age, I keep telling you guys, he is an exciting player. But one thing they did do was their movement, as I said. And, you know, throughout this game today, we saw that we were creating those numerical overloads in the central areas. Of course, fullbacks pushing forward as well. And this is why we had so many shots from this area. And this is how Lampard wants the team to play. As you can see, it's all very close in this central area over here. Depending on where the ball is, someone is going to remain isolated just to be that pass the option to, you know, quicken the play and, you know, switch the ball. And, you know, so far, seeing this formation, it looks like we do create opportunities quite comfortably in that sense. However, there is one thing I do want to talk about just to end my second half thoughts. And that's the fact that, you know, defending, it's still not on point. And as I keep saying now, we are a team that relies on the press. It's not about defensive positioning. It's not about keeping our shape. It's about winning the ball in the opposite half. And of course, if you're not on point, if it's not cohesive, and this is one thing that Sarri really struggled with because it's a very hard thing to implement. It takes so much time. I do think that as we play more games, as the season goes on, we're naturally going to get better with this. You know, there are new players in this team, so it's not as if it's the same team as last year. So I'm not too fussed, but again, I think that was the main reason as to why sometimes our defending wasn't always on point. Now, that's going to bring an end to today's match review. And on that note, I'm going to keep things moving. Thank you for watching. I'm Kenedy FC. This is Blue Lines TV. See you guys in a bit.